know what, brother, and you know what? It'll be just injustice to me to live in Chicago and not ask you questions pertaining to Chicago because charity starts at home. With all due respect to the global audience, you know what? There is criminal activity going on in Chicago over the weekend. There are many people that have been killed. There are women that have come up missing. And you know what? There are aldermen that are proposing that the National Guards come into Chicago to patrol the area. What is your stance on that? Should the National Guards come into Chicago to minimize the criminal activity and the killing in Chicago?
Well, first of all, let me take the first part of your statement first. You spoke about the criminal behavior on the part of Black people, and let me say a lot of this criminal and sinful behavior on the part of our people is a result of lack of knowledge, ignorance, self-hatred, which can be flipped around, you know, if we begin to teach our people knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of themselves, who they are and where they come from. And we happen to live in a system in which the educational system gives our people the standard American education, which leaves them dumbed down, which leaves them not knowing who they are. The governor just passed a law here in Illinois that, you know, Asian history, you know, must be taught in the public school system. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Have they passed any laws making it mandatory that all students learn Black history yet? Correct me if I'm wrong. Has that been passed?
No, they have passed a law to learn about the LGBT movement, and don't have nothing to say about that because I know how YouTube is. But no.
Okay, so it's unjust that for 400 years, you know, we have given blood, sweat, and tears to America, but yet, you know, it is not mandatory that people learn about Black history and the contributions of Black people. So this is part of an ongoing injustice that's really designed, in my opinion, to keep our people in the present, you know, mental, physical, and economic condition that we've been in for so long. The crime problem cannot be solved alone by sending in the National Guard. We have to correct the educational problem of the Black community. We have to correct the economic, you know, and the political injustice that our people have been experiencing. We have to do something about police brutality. You know, as Brother Malcolm X said, you know, as long as you have racist police, you know, members of the Ku Klux Klan being allowed to be on the police force, we're going to have a problem with racist police brutality, which is going to cause the people to rise up in anger and hate against the system. So until America begins to practice what it preaches, you know, they talk all this stuff about the land of the free and the home of the brave and all of that there.
Yeah.
And God bless America being the greatest country on the earth. But you cannot be the greatest country on the earth as long as you are oppressing, you know, the very people that help make America what it has become.
Yes, sir. You got two questions after that. They're going to ask about your book, but it is somebody, Brother David wants to know, people need to educate themselves first before their votes can be counted in any decision, I believe. What is your opinion about that?
Well, Malcolm X said that vote, but be intelligent voters when you vote. Malcolm said don't vote unless you have been educated as who the candidate is, what he stands for, whether or not he represents the best interest of the Black community. You know, I've never been for this. You know, you hear people when election time comes along, you hear all these politicians and these radio hosts and TV hosts get on television telling the people to vote, just vote. You know, no, I'm not voting if I'm not sure about who I'm voting for. If a candidate has not proven by his past actions that he has the best interest of the black community, why vote for him? No, we need to stay home if they're not representing our best interest. I'm not with that vote just to be voting. And I recognize that our ancestors paid the price for the vote. But black people have to stop being suckers, for politicians who could continue to make all these promises. But when they get in office, they never fulfill any of the promises that they have made to the people.
Well, I got a follow up. My follow up is, you say that you vote, and they just had a voters right thing that was turned down. You say that you vote, and what I would like to ask you in regards to that is, if you vote, what difference does it really make if your politician is controlled by contributors that give $100,000 and $50,000 and you give $5? And who will have more influence? Who has more interest? Whose interest will that individual politician look out for? I'm talking about if they are controlled by lobbyists. I would like to know that.
Well, what you just pointed out is only indicative of how corrupt this American political system is, brother. There are cracks in the Constitution. There's a book that I would recommend that everybody get. It's an old book. The name of it is Cracks in the Constitution by Ferdinand Lundberg, and he pointed out all of the defects in the American political system, brother. So, the fact that money sometimes is more important than honest politics, demonstrates that, America is not everything that is made out to be, brother. Yes, it may be many things positive about this country in comparison with other countries, but that you can't tell me that America is the greatest country on the planet. When I look out and I see poverty, I see homelessness, I see police brutality, I see people being messed over economically, the poor, old people, the senior citizens, are being neglected. The veterans are being neglected. You can't tell me that with all this happening, that America is the greatest. Then when we can go in some other countries, like maybe Sweden or other countries, and we see that the people and the citizens are respected and well taken care of much better than the people are over here. So,
well, I need to ask that question in a different way. What I'm asking you is, if the majority of your politicians are controlled by people that we don't even see, and the majority are not looking out towards the interests of the people because of their contributors, what good is the vote doing? That's what I meant. I need to restructure my
I agree. I agree. The vote can be stolen. In going back in the 90s, when Bush ran for president and won a couple of times, they have evidence that the vote was stolen. You see that they can manipulate the vote through the computer system. You understand? So when things like that are allowed to happen, the vote of the people really mean nothing. The vote of the people really means nothing. So in a way, maybe the whole system needs to be, overturned, and a whole new political system, needs to come in place so that the masses of the people can get justice and not the rich people up at the top.
And you know what? There is a brother Haymaker's brother Hay, neighbor Z. He wanted to know. He is more interested in how does he buy your books? Tell us about you being an author, and why did you become an author? And tell us about your books.
Okay, well, I've written. I'm the author of at least 10 publications, self-published. One of my first books was an audio book entitled The Talking Book of Black History, which is on CD. This is a 90-minute educational audio tape that gives a panoramic view of Black history and African history from past to present. That's available. I have also wrote a book called The Untold Story of Blacks in Islam, and this gives the history of Black Muslims from past to present. I did a book called The Melanin Chronicles. This talks about the great, magnificent chemical that Almighty God, Allah, gave us, and how it contributes to our intelligence, rhythm, and all the great heroes and sheroes in Black history and the magnificent things.
Excuse me for 1 second. Can you put the link in the chat room of where people could go purchase the book?
Well, they can contact me directly at my email. They can contact me directly at my email, which if it's possible for you to post, you feel free to do that.
Okay, I'll do that while you. I'll do that while you talking. Okay.
Yeah, that's Khalik7 at sbcglobal.net. It is KHALIQ, the number 7 at sbcglobal.net.
Okay, I'm typing it in right now. Okay.
Yeah, Khalik7 at sbcglobal.net. KHALIQ, the number 7 at sbcglobal.net. So, those are a few of the books that I've written. I also have a lot of my lectures available on DVD and also CD. Numerous lectures that I've given over the years that would be of interest to people wanting to learn more about their culture, history, and events relating to the upliftment of our community.
Okay, and you know what? Like I said, I got down below you where I got the email address where they can get in contact with you. If that's incorrect, let me know.
There's no www in there. That's my email address.
Okay, you can put www. Okay, you can put www
there.
Okay.
They won't be able to get in touch with me if that www.
Oh, okay. Let me do. Okay, Okay, go ahead. I'm listening to you though. I'm listening to you.
Yeah. Okay. So those are just some of the things that Again, I consider myself a amateur historian. I say amateur historian because I'm always learning. You never finish learning, and I take my cues from Al-Haj Malik Shabazz, brother Malcolm X, who read every book in the library. If you can see, I value libraries, because you can see all the books behind me, and my reading and constant study inspired me to do some writing, on my own, and on subjects that I feel are, very relevant to the spiritual and cultural consciousness of our people. Yeah. So that's just that's just Khalik7 at SBC.
You know what though, but I see that, but it lights up as a link that they can get to. Lights up this with the www with a link that they can get to the www. I'm looking right at it. I can go right to it right now.
Yeah.
But go ahead. But you know what I'll write it in there again. But something I really want to ask you about Chicago, Illinois. What is the solution? Can the criminal activity be solved? I happen to believe it can't be solved because man has deviated off the path of God, and it's going to get worse. But if you have a different opinion, please let me know.
It would never be solved as long as America is in the state that it's in, because Malcolm said in one of his books, he said that as long as you have corrupt police, you're going to always have crime in the Black community. So you got some police that benefit, from the drug and gang problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But once Black people come together amongst themselves, and unify and begin to respect each other and uplift each other, our people will become intolerant, toward criminal activity. Black man himself, as Malcolm said, that have to stand up and protect his own community. We can't expect any white police to come in the black community and solve a problem that they helped create. They put guns and drugs in the community for our people to destroy each other. So you think that they're going to be interested in helping to solve the problem? We think that the National Guard can come in the black community and solve the crime problem when they come in the black community. Look at the history of what happened in the 60s and 70s when the riots broke out. You had white National Guardsmen that came in here and killed black people. You got white National Guardsmen that are member of the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis. So you think that these people are going to come in here and help the black community solve the crime problem?
Well, I have a follow-up question for that. My follow-up question is, amongst the black police, there's also a code of silence. So if you flood the community with black policemen, there's still a code of silence that exists with the police department. So how do you eliminate that?
Well, again, you know, we the only way we could eliminate.
You tell people what code of silence means. Code of silence is, you know what, I see my brother do something, I get money from a drug house. I ain't gonna say nothing because you know what, we roll together and opportunity. So if you flood the African American community with all black police, how does that solve the problem of the code of silence? I would like to ask you.
Well, brother, again, that we can't solve the problem unless we educate our people, brother.
Okay.
You know, you don't have all black police that's corrupt. You have some black policemen that I've met in the past, brother, that had spiritual and cultural consciousness as well as anybody else. Pat Hill was a sister here in Chicago that had a great deal of cultural and spiritual consciousness, and she demonstrated care and love for the black community. If we can get our police officers, you know, to understand, you know, their obligation to the black community and to understand the importance of their black history and loving their own and respecting their own people, these are the type of police officers, you know, that will help eliminate the problem. But as long as they're in a house Negro mentality, you know, as long as they just want to be a Sambo, you know, and go along with the racist system that oppresses their people, you know, then they're not going to make any contribution, because many of them, unfortunately, that you mentioned, you know, they look down on our people worse than these white racist police officers.
And I mean, is it, you know what, the question in the chat room, is it not true? And I know that you are a reader and an author. Is it not true that crack was brought into the African American community in California crack was brought into the community, and the mafia and their partners was crack brought into the community in California, and was the mafia involved with that? And the police?
Well, it's always been the police and crime syndicate cooperation in dousing the black community with drugs, going all the way back in the day, you know, with Lucky Luciano. You know, look at that movie, The Godfather, when Lucky Luciano made the statement in there, you know, that we won't sell heroin to our people, we'll give it to the niggas. You understand? Yeah. And the fact that the CIA was involved in the crack epidemic, it was proven when Gary Webb wrote his book on that history, and they also made a movie called "Don't Kill the Messenger." I forgot Jeremy. I can't remember that actor's name that played the Archer in Avengers. Played the role of Gary Webb in that movie, exposing the government and CIA involvement in flooding the black community with the crack. You understand? So it's evidence. And Gary Webb ended up being found dead of 2 bullet wounds to the head. How can you shoot yourself in the head twice? You understand what I'm saying? No, he was murdered for what he revealed and exposed in that book that he wrote and the newspaper articles that he wrote in the San Jose Mercury News.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
You know what the Voter Rights Act that they're saying that was turned down to where they're making it harder for people of color to vote. How does that affect? I mean, should it be a big thing if you don't have your ID or you have your ID, them gerrymandering and people that don't even know what the Voter Rights Act is that was turned down? Can you explain that to the masses that are listening?
well, the only thing that I have to say about that, that just showed you how intent the majority of these white politicians are in preventing black people from having their political rights. Now with that said, I'm not saying that voting is a panacea. Okay, I don't believe that voting alone has all the answers. There are things that black people need to be doing outside of voting, to help our people move forward and solve some of the problems that we are being afflicted by. So we can't depend on the vote alone. But with that said, also, let me say this here. Anytime Malcolm said, whatever white people is against, that's what we should be for. And whatever they're against, for, that's what we should be against. So if white people are trying to prevent us from voting, then we need to make sure that we try to vote.
Okay.
You understand? If I know that the white man doesn't want me to vote, then I'm gonna vote to piss the white man off.
Okay. And then the people again, because of YouTube, and I'm giving a disclaimer, we're not prejudiced. All we're doing is just pointing out historical facts. I got to do that for YouTube. I'm sorry, brother. Because YouTube, hey man, that's how their algorithms work.
Yeah.
For some reason. Question is about overseas.